Hello, everyone. It's Denise from Dobby Books. Happy Sunday and Happy New Year. Um, I've been I've been lurking in the shadows for the last 12 days or so. I'm recovering from surgery. It was a planned procedure, and I foolishly thought that I would be back to work after 1 week. No. It will be 2 weeks and a couple of days, and I'm nowhere near being able to do what I need to do, and I don't have a physically demanding job, but I think what I'm realizing is my need for rest is still pretty high. And what can complicate matters is that sitting for me right now is not comfortable. That's simply because the surgery involved a ligament that is in the back. I guess it's not in the back of my abdomen, lower. It's in the back of the pelvis, the back part of the pelvis. There was a surgical procedure done there that involved those ligaments. And that's why when I sit, I have to sit in a certain position, perhaps leaning forward a little bit. I can't lean back and put my feet up like my reading position. I cannot do that at all. I'm not allowed yet to cross my legs because it will put too much tension on those ligaments. So I alternate between lying down and walking around the house or the back patio. Right now it's been raining for a few days, so that back patio access has been a little limited. But I am happy to say that after around day 9, I'd have to say, the pain definitely decreased significantly enough that if I went beyond my actual time to take my next round of pain medication, I was actually okay. And today, rather than having to take my medication at 8 o'clock, I was actually able to wait until 11, and I was still comfortable enough. So that's encouraging to me. But I still get tired. And I'd like to get back to work, but we'll see how that goes. And I do appreciate everybody's well wishes. Thank you very much. And what I'm going to dedicate this particular video to is letting you know what I have planned for Historathon. This is my first year participating in this. Yeah, because I wanted to do it last year, and I think you guys were somewhere in the third or fourth quarter, and I toyed with the idea of, finding something for that time period, but I don't think I really got around to it. So this year, when I was viewing all the announcements last week, I thought, okay, this time I'm going to do it. So this is what I want to dedicate this video to show you some ideas that I've put together, and I'm going to show them to you in chronological order. And let's see how many of these I managed to get through in a quarter. My guess, at the very least, I should be able to read one book per quarter while still being able to read through the rest of my other chosen books or reading projects that I'm doing. All right, so let's start this, and I will start with the earliest one first. The earliest one I could find was by Eric Klein, 1177 BC, the year civilization collapsed. This edition is revised and updated, and I thought it was significant because there was a shift in ancient history during this time, and I want to know about it. And this, I don't know if you've noticed here, there's a smiley face on here. There's a smiley face sticker. And this is something I started doing this year because I needed a system that would help me to recognize or remember that I have this book in a different format. In the format, because I put a smiley face, is for a younger audience. And this is the other format that I have this same book in. This is a graphic novel, same book. So I pulled out both, and I'm sure I can enjoy both as I'm reading through. So this is suggestion or idea number 1, right? And idea number 2 is the Iliad, which I have read before, at least twice before, but this particular translation is by Emily Wilson. I have other translations that I've read. I have, let's turn this over this way. Let me move some of the debris from the bookshelf. Okay, now you can see it better. I have, of the Iliad, I have the Robert Fagles translation, and there's a green dot on the spine, which shows you that I have read this one. And I also have the Richard Lattimore translation, and another green dot shows you that I have read this translation. But Emily Wilson was a new one that I picked up. She has translated both the Iliad and the Odyssey, and she also has translated the Aeneid, which is a new one. But I haven't purchased it yet because I'm waiting for the paperback edition. I favor paperback editions. So that's what I'm waiting for on that. So this is my second one. The second possibility for the first quarter of Historathon. And accompanying that is this book that I got earlier this year, which is by Jonas Grethling, Reading the Odyssey, A Guide to Homer's Narrative. So hopefully I'll be able to at least explore some of the contents in here, if not all of them. I think that would be fabulous. So this is an opportunity for me to finally read this book, which I knew I wanted to read. I just wasn't sure when I'd get around to it. And then my next one, because I wanted to see if I could find any literary sources that were not just from the Western tradition, but maybe somewhere in the Eastern tradition, and by that I mean the Asian continent, right? So this one is the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu, translated with an introduction and commentary by John Minford. I think this would be good to read, add some variety in my ancient history. This is really neat. It has little symbols, so it has the symbols there, beginning. Looks like it has what looks like poetry, besides commentary. To flow with the Tao is a nice opening chapter. So I think this is going to be something different enough and enjoyable enough that I definitely want to have this read during the first quarter of Historathon. The next one is Apollonius of Rhodes, The Voyage of Argo. This is something that I have dated as circa 250s BC. And this talks about, this was written in the 3rd century BC in Alexandria, and it's the only full surviving account of Jason's legendary quest for the Golden Fleece. And of course, I've heard the story of the Golden Fleece. I've read even little snippets of it in anthologies, but I've never really read the full story. So I really want the opportunity to do this with this during the Historathon. And because it's such a short book, I think it'll be easy enough to get through it. And the next one is the Archco volume. This is roughly a collection of letters written in the 4th century. No, not the 4th century. It was sometime during the 1st century AD. And it's a collection of writings from the Sanhedrin and the Talmuds of the Jews, as well as letters from Pontius Pilate that he was directing to Rome. And they all center around their experience with this man known as Jesus of Nazareth, and his followers and whatever. I don't know how I learned about this book. I have no idea, but it really intrigued me to get all these different outsiders, if you will, outsiders' perspectives and experiences with and what they heard about this man named Jesus of Nazareth and the sect that developed around him. So the Archco volume, and the publisher of this is Pantainos Classics. It's a series known as the Pantainos Classics, and that is also the name of the publisher. And I think the publisher, I think the website that I got this from is owned by an Eastern Orthodox um, company. So there's this one to read. And then one of the last ones, the Discourses, the Handbook of Fragments by Epictetus. Now I've encountered mentions of Epictetus as I'm reading the book about Nero, with reading the Roman emperors, and the book that Bob recommended was Nero, Matricide, Murder, and Music in Imperial Rome. I may have gotten that title a little bit wrong, but Epictetus is mentioned. And this I thought would be a great connection, and conveniently so, for the first quarter of Historathon. Let's see. Epictetus, a lame former slave exiled by the Emperor Domitian, who offers by far the most positive and humane version of Stoic ideals. The discourses assembled by his pupil Arrian catch him in action, publicly setting out his reviews on ethical dilemmas. So Epictetus himself wrote nothing. It was his student who did the writing, who collected his teachings in this. And I'd love to know more about this person, Epictetus, that I heard so much about in the book Nero. I also wanted to get a book on Seneca because he's mentioned a lot in that same book. I'll try to do that, but I can't really get out. I'm not allowed to drive yet. And I may possibly drag my husband around to take me on a couple of stops, but we'll see. It all depends on how much energy I have. There are two things that I sort of have, I guess you could say, in the background that I may be referring to as I'm doing this reading for the first quarter. One of them is The History of the Ancient World by Susan Wise Bauer. Goes from the earliest accounts to the fall of Rome. And this is pretty much what the time period that we're covering for the first quarter of Historathon. And hers is written thematically, and it goes chronologically as well. And so it covers the world itself and various things that are going on at the same time. It also has an accompanying timeline at the end of each chapter. And this will be a sort of reference for me as I'm reading through things. Maybe it will fill in some gaps or provide another name, another connection that I could perhaps explore in the process. And if nothing else, at least it'll be some references that I can add to my timeline. And last but not least, I have this wonderful book that I've owned for many years. It's what I shared with my children when we were studying history together. And it's going to be a wonderful reference to refer to as I work my way through all of Historathon. And it's A Street Through Time, a 12,000-year walk through history. And this is a DK publication. They always have such fantastic publications. So this right here is a street in London. No, let's see. I guess it's a non-specific street. I'll find out more as I read. So this is how it starts. This looks like it may be the Americas. Stone Age hunters, 10,000 BC, possibly. So this is what the street will look like at the very beginning. And then it eventually progresses through. Let me bring you to, this would be the Iron Age, the same street. And you see how things change. Then it brings us to the time of the Viking raiders. Same street. Or riverside town, I guess you could say. And here, an example of when the plague strikes. And here is during the 18th century. And finally, the street today. So I think this is just a nice a nice visual or something to just flip through occasionally as I'm reading my way through, to kind of get a picture of what things sort of looked like during the time in history that I'm reading. I think it's a great idea. This is something, of course, that children can relate to because they're very visual, as am I. And I think this would be a nice little reference to have on hand in the background, and that will cover me through all 4 quarters. So that is it, everybody. The next video that I'm going to present will deal with what I've been reading, what I finished reading, and the next one after that will be on where I am currently in my Middle Ages studies. So everybody, please stay healthy. Please be safe. Things have gotten crazy in the last couple of days. Let's stick together and let's stay strong. I love you all, and I will see you in just a few days. Bye-bye.